Okay.
All right, Rabbi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Temple Sinai. We're standing in the entrance to the entrance of the building. And this part of Temple Sinai, the social hall, sanctuary, offices, and the old chapel, which is now the library, were all finished on the 20th anniversary of our congregation in 1987. So 67, 77, 87, the 20th anniversary. And we dedicated the entire building exactly on the 20th anniversary of the congregation. I brought a mezuzah back from Israel on one of our trips. Back in the day, 40 years ago now, this mezuzah was sparkly and shiny, but I guess the elements have caused this bronze to get a little bit spot. But I just wanted you to see the people who were here who had actually dedicated the mezuzah, which you can see right up here in the corner. Our daughter Dina, me, Ricky, and Ron. We were just a few years younger in those days. But that's who was hanging the mezuzah. So let's take a look inside and see what we can see.
After you.
There are a number of large items in the congregation. Things like the stained glass window in the entry hall, and we can talk about that in just a few minutes, but first, let's take a look at things that people really don't stop to take a look at. So let's start with this particular case that was built into this building when we moved in. This was originally going to be for the Sisterhood gift shop. I'll show them. The gift shop was at one time going to be where the old chapel was. Then it was going to move to where the coat room is. Then ultimately, for a number of years, it was in the old Pitt School building. And then ultimately, when we built the new Abrams Chapel and we built the new school building, we tore down the old Pitt's building and said goodbye to the Sisterhood gift shop. There are a few very unusual things in this particular little place. First of all, a beautiful piece of stained glass that says Eitz Chaim, a tree of life, that was donated to the congregation by Norm and Brenda Sheldon a long time ago, about 20 years or so, 25 years or so ago. And it's made out of Murano glass, and it's a beautiful piece of Murano glass.
Brenda's on.
You see it?
Brenda's here.
Oh, Brenda's here?
Mhm.
Oh, nice. Good. About, I'd say in the early 1970s. So we're talking about 50 years or so, almost 50 years ago. I was giving a lecture on Jewish marriage rituals, and I was talking about the communal marriage ring. And I said, gee, that would be nice. The original communal marriage ring was a large, usually silver ring that went from bride to bride. A groom would usually put it on the finger of the bride, and then the bride, after a day or so, or maybe even after the Sheva Brachot, the week-long celebration of their marriage, would then turn it back to the communal rabbi to be used for the next wedding. So about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I made that little lecture, somebody, and I don't remember who it was, came and presented me with our own communal wedding ring. I'm going to take it home and shine it. Actually, I'm going to take it home and have someone at home shine it. Whoever that
Can't
happens
imagine who that would
I
be.
can't imagine who that would be. But this is our communal wedding ring. So if in fact you want to get married on the cheap, you just come and you can borrow this. Absolutely. Oh God. This happens to be from my grandfather. His name was Chaim Vitali Sadaka. And this is probably one of the smallest prayer books ever printed. It was printed in Amsterdam in the 1700s. And it is a magnificent, it's very worn. It's an Orthodox sitter, and you can see the type is still good on many pages. I'm not sure that it's rare, but it's certainly among the rare books that one would possibly find. This is a small set of tefillin, usually for a bar mitzvah boy. Not yet a full-size set. And this is a talus for a young child. And this was also a very old Sephardic tradition to put a talus on an infant. And so this is an infant or a very young youth's talit. And it's a kosher talus because it has the tzitzit on the corners. And it has the bracha inscribed in the atara, in the neck piece. So it's an official talus, but you won't see one that small ever. This beautiful little piece.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of me as about a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old wearing it. If I could ever find that picture, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll put it in the case.
Yeah, and this is the original bag that came.
Wow.
So that's very sweet. Talit. This happens to be a Sephardic prayer book printed in Amsterdam in 1658. And it's a gift of Judy Ehrman, one of the gifts that she gave to the congregation, Aleha Shalom. May she rest in peace. And it's in very good condition, actually. A tzedakah box that was created for our congregation by our master creator of pottery, of things Judaic, and really very unusual and lovely, Trudy Strauss, who is just a cherished member of our congregation. How old is Judy? How old is Trudy now? I think she's
104?
107, 8, 9.
Oh, 106. This came up yesterday
106.
too. 106.
Well, Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Happy-
I think she just had a birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. These are the first Rimonine that we had on our first Torah. They're silver. They're very nice. They're sort of modeled on old Rimonim from Eastern Europe, kind of ornate. The Eastern European Rimonim always had bells on them, and they were sort of in emulation of the bells on the robe of the high priest of Israel. And of course, a Rimon, a Torah crown, would not be complete unless it took on the shape of a pomegranate, because a pomegranate is the original symbol of the Jewish people. And on the robe of the high priest, he wore a chain of different symbols a bell, a pomegranate, a bell, a pomegranate, all the way around the hem of his robe. And the bells actually made a noise so that he should never be accused of sneaking up on someone. You always knew when he was coming. So those are also a part of our treasure. There are two of these. These are the original candlesticks that were presented by the temple. One was given, this one is in, was given to the temple by Robin and Ron Zwerin, in honor of our children, Robin and Ron. Dina wasn't born yet when we gave this to the temple. And the other one, which is somewhere, maybe in the other.
That's right there.
Oh, right here. There it is. What's it doing over there? And this is in honor of Sidney Sham. And it was also presented at the very same time by Chuck Sham and Marlene Sham in honor of Chuck's father. Everybody's got a book like this. Everybody gets one for something or another. This happens to be a very unusual Bible. It's unusual because it contains some 2,000 pictures. And the pictures are really unusual and magnificent. Not only that, but it's also in Hebrew and in English. It was printed in Jerusalem. Almost every page has a picture or two depicting what was going on in the Bible at that particular time. And it's just a beautiful piece of work. So we keep it here because it's not something that we would normally want to be using every day, especially with this kind of binding, which is beautiful on the one hand, but it falls apart quite quickly if you keep turning the pages too often. Essentially, that's it. One more thing. For those of you who might know or might remember, every year from the beginning of the temple, really until I retired, I collected Ethrogen at the end of Sukkot. And because an etrog is a fruit that never rots. It just dries out, which is a rare thing in anything living. It just dries out. It sort of self-embalms. And I would write the date in Hebrew on the etrog so that years later, that date would be in there, inscribed in there forever. So this is 5751. So it was 28 years ago.
30.
Yeah. 30, I'm sorry, 38 years ago.
No,
Yeah.
30 years, right?
Yeah. When
We're
you're having,
5781, so we're
yeah. So,
30.
Yeah.
Had an anniversary.
So we're having a good time. Right? As long as we don't dry up. And, oh yeah, look at this. I haven't seen this in a long time. This is also another sweet little Bible. No, this is a prayer book. And this, King Solomon's mines are in the southern part of Israel, in the southern part of the Negev, way down in the southeastern corner of the Negev. King Solomon's pillars, or the Amudei Shlomo, are also located right nearby. And the copper that was taken from those mines was actually used to build Solomon's navy, to build his ships. And so when I was down there on one of my first ventures into the Negev, I rode down on a scooter in 1960. I want to say maybe 1960, 61, somewhere there. I happened to come upon this particular rock, which is pure copper. And that's what a piece of copper looks like in its ore shape. And I took it to Jerusalem, and one of the people there said, "Why don't I put it in a block of plastic for you, and you'll have it forever." And so here it is. We have it forever. All right, let's move on. Well, as long as we're here, why don't we do what I would call a tribute to one of the most creative ladies in our congregation, Helen Ginsberg. Helen and I worked on so many projects, I can't really recall all of them, but every time we needed something of an artistic or creative mode, Helen was always there to help with the project. And so the first thing we needed a stained glass window for the temple, a sort of piece de resistance, so that when we came into the temple, the first thing we saw would be this magnificent illuminated picture. And so Helen, with the help of an artist in Colorado Springs, designed this magnificent stained glass. Let's see, Debbie Eber Brody and her sister Beverly donated in memory of their parents, Lil and Sam Rolnick. And this particular stained glass is really symbolic of the burning bush, because as everyone knows, our old temple on Dartmouth Street collapsed, and after 6 years, it died a young death. And when we came in here, the symbol of it was the burning bush, because the congregation may have burned, but it was never consumed. And so that's what the words say. The flames actually spell out the Hebrew letters V'hasneh Eno Ukal, and the bush was not consumed. And you'll see on the bottom the brown of the root system or the branch system of a bush, and the green leaves, meaning that the green is going to be ever there. It's going to continue to grow and flourish, and the flames are there, but they are not consuming branch, limbs, or leaves, so that the temple survives despite the possibilities of it being destroyed. And one of the unbelievable things is that during those 6 years, we only had 300 families. And during those 6 years, we had to constantly raise money. So we had 3 major fundraising campaigns in which we needed to raise almost $1 million each time, just to keep the building standing, for no other purpose than to be able to sue the architect, the builder, or the contractor. And we raised the money from our own congregation, and not one single family resigned because of the burden. And for that, those who stayed with the congregation should be forever proud of what they did. And of course, as soon as we moved into Pitt School, the congregation doubled in size and within a year. So this is the original menorah. I don't know, can we turn those lights on? There we can.
There it is.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I guess the right light. This is the original menorah that was in the foyer of the Dartmouth Street Synagogue. And it really contains the names of the first donors to the Dartmouth Street Synagogue. People who had really gone out of their way to, we were all young kids at the time. We were all in our early 30s. And to come up with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 was a remarkable achievement. And so these particular plaques all are in honor of those who went above and beyond and gave enough money so that we could build a building And Helen designed it, Helen Ginsberg, and just another one of her creative tour de forces. This happens to be all of the plaques for those who have donated to build our future, the new building, the educational facility, and also to add the chapel, which is in honor of the Abrams family, who were the major donors to that particular facility. A beautiful chapel that it is. And when we wrote the Torah, about 13 years ago, we had a scribe come in and write a Torah, and everyone who wanted to had a chance to make one of the letters in the Torah and to donate to the making of the Torah. And this is in honor of those who participated in that fundraising event. And of course, this is the Sinai Circle. And someday we'll get rid of this and put up something that I really like. But in the meantime, in the meantime, I don't work here any longer, so so I don't have to be up to someone else to do this. But you know, God loves the people whose names are on here, because that means that they have agreed to leave money in their wills. May they live to be 120, and to continue to sustain the congregation in life and beyond. So we're very grateful to all the people whose names are there. Let's take a quick look over here at this cabinet. This is the hallway to the Abrams Chapel. Just going to show you a few things here. On one of our trips to Israel, the Richardsons, Glenn and Wally, and Don and Loretta Coelty came back with this incredible grogger. It is the loudest grogger that I have ever heard. And so both myself and Rabbi Rines have thoroughly enjoyed doing Purim.
Oh my God.
With that grogger. It is a loud fetch. So you say Haman, Haman jumps. That's the deal here. And this is the inexpensive version. And it doesn't make nearly the sound, but it's certainly louder than many. It kind of pales. But then again, this was probably $50, and that was probably times that. A beautiful piece of Murano glass, a yod. The chances of using this in the sanctuary are slim to nil. This was also donated by Loretta and Don Coelty on one of their trips. Murano glass, but I believe it was bought in Israel. And it's gorgeous, and it's a beautiful piece of work, a beautiful piece of art. But can you imagine somebody taking this and pointing on the Torah and the whole thing shatters? So we're going to leave it right here on its own little pad. This is a Megillah that was also bought on one of our trips to Israel. And it's also really very pretty. I haven't opened it in a long time. It's unfortunately the silver interferes with the text and it turns it darker. So, but the writing is beautiful, as you can tell, and the scroll itself is just beautifully done, magnificently done, and the filigree silver work and gold work is beautiful. So the whole Megillah rolls back up, a little bit of effort because it's highly sprung. There we go. This happens to be something my grandfather gave to me. It is it's in honor of, and now I guess in memory of, my uncle Joe Sadaka, but it was a Megillah from Izmir, Turkey, and my grandfather was from a very old family of mystics in Izmir, Turkey. And there are a number of things in here, in this case, that are from the Turkish community of Izmir and from the mystical tradition. So the Chacham of the mystical synagogue always wore a mitre. Instead of a kippah, it was a large mitre. He had a very small head. This would kind of be worn like this, and this particular kippah is probably 150 years old, or something like that. And it's right here in the corner, and you can take a look at it. These are a regular set of tefillin, also from the Izmir community. This is the one for the head, Shel Rosh, and this is Shel Yad for the hand. There are other things to see here. The spice box, also from Turkey, and other matzah plates, Shabbat plates. Good stuff. If anybody wants to do any research on ancient Palestine, these 3 volumes that were donated by the Polinskis, Carol and Dick Polinsky, are filled with, it's an 1800 publication. They're filled with pictures of Jerusalem 170, 180 years ago.
Wow.
And they're beautiful thing, beautiful books. So we put it here. This whole case was built for the temple by Steve Reinhardt. I mentioned Steve Reinhardt's name because Steve just built the beautiful new podium that was just begun being used a couple of weeks ago here at the temple in the sanctuary. Isaac Mayer Weiss, of course, is the founder of the Reform movement in Judaism, and Temple Emmanuel and Temple Sinai have, for the last almost 40 years, created a program called the Isaac Mayer Weiss Award, in which each year we award, or we did at least for many of the last 40 years, award a plaque to the member of the Jewish community has done the most to advance the cause of Reform Judaism. So over the course of the years, we honored such people as Vorspan and Gottschalk and leaders of the Jewish community, Joe Glazer.
Zola.
Yes. So just lots of people who have really been instrumental in keeping our traditions alive.
We probably have time for one more story.
One more story.
So you got to pick a good one.
I'll pick a good story. This is a good story. So when we were building the new building, we wanted to create a memorial wall that was not like every other memorial wall. In most synagogues, you go into either a room or hallways, and memorial walls really feature either bricks or slats of metal that, you know, are just stacked one on top of the other. There's really no imagination. So a young man who used to be a confirmand of our congregation, who ended up being an architect and an astrophysicist, he not only designed the ark, which we're not going to talk about today, but he designed this wall, and he designed it so that it was three-dimensional. And the plaques were put on not as squares straight looking at you, but really as squares turned on edge. And the object was that as each square is added, the whole wall should take on a sense of movement, almost as if birds in flight. And to a great extent, I think he achieved his goal. If I had my druthers, the copper would never patina eyes, and the words would stand out a little bit more. But druthers don't always come through. So therefore, the wall is what the wall is. But you know, as I go by here on making my rounds, what have you, I always stop to just look in a different area and to read the names of people who I've known through the years and who have passed along. And I'm always reminded that the words that are written on top, Nishmat Gam Ner Adonai, is a tribute to them, that the soul of man is the light of the Lord, that in each of us there is a touch of the divine. Man, woman, everyone is touched by the divine, and so their souls are immortalized in our memories and in our thoughts and in the love we share with them. So that's it. I will take email requests for answer any questions that anyone has. And in the coming months in Kesher, Ricky and I will be writing articles about the various and sundry other aspects of our congregation, archival aspects of the congregation, or maybe large items in the congregation, so that everyone can have a sense of the history of the congregation itself.
Wonderful. Rabbi, thank you. We'll do more of this. Like you said, look out for Kesher, and maybe we'll do it like another one of these. Everybody's saying they wish we had more time, which I'll follow you around this building all day long. So someone said she could listen to you endlessly, as could I, Paula. So we'll do more of this. Thank you, Rabbi. We're going to send it to Lisa. I think we're going to pause for just a second before we get going for trivia. Don't go anywhere. You didn't need to pre-register.
No, actually, we're not going to. Yeah, we're going to just go into it in a second.
Go for it.
Thank you. Very informative. It's always fun to listen to you.